Closed on the house the day I was born, October 28, 1964. And they moved from a kitchen house on the Battery right across from the Carolina Yacht Club, which was very convenient for my father. He lost that convenience factor in moving into the house on New Street, 14 New. And it, big clapboard house built in 1865, and there was no central air, and it was to be in the summertime. We didn't get central air until 1985. My favorite memory of growing up in Charleston would have to be learning how to sail in Charleston Harbor and making friends with children a few years older, a few years younger, and they've all tended to be some of my closest friends today. They're all interested in waterfront activities, and we socialize together. But learning to sail was wonderful, and it was very much of an opportunity to become rather confident as a little fella that you could do something worthwhile. You could actually run the boat. And my sister and I took lessons together, and my little niece is starting to learn this summer, so the cycle continues. But basically, growing up in Charleston was a sea of bicycles. Everything was by bicycles. It was go visit your friend on the bicycle. It was go to football practice, t-ball practice, baseball practice. And then that magic 14, 15 years old caught in, and it was a different situation altogether. Once you got your wheels, then you could go on dates and ride over to Big John's. Going to Big John's on a bicycle, that was cool. You wanted to show up with a car so you could get home. It was too far to walk home, of course. But we had plenty of places to go and visit back in those days, and you didn't see a whole lot of people on the streets back in the mid-'80s. You used to have persons of color living in downtown Charleston, below Broad. That doesn't happen so much anymore. It's just not the interaction. People don't have paid help the way they used to, and that was, of course, a key ingredient of how persons who lived in Charleston got to know their neighbors and got to know those working for them. It was more mixed neighborhoods back then. Today, it's just not the same. Our nanny, Viola Smalls, she wheeled us in the pram to the Battery so we could play with other children, and I learned as time went on that there was a pecking order among the maids as to which children were dressed right and which ones looked like ragamuffins. So they always wanted us to look right. And the other side of that coin is my nanny, Viola, wanted to make sure that I didn't turn out to be some sort of Little Lord Fauntleroy sissy. So she pushed me down. She admitted that she pushed me down on the rocks to skin my knees so that I wouldn't become a sissy. I went to the Hanahan Little School, and that was on Church Street at the time. Now it's merged with Grace Church's kindergarten. So that's where the little school finds its home today. After that experience, I went to Charleston Day, and at that time, Charleston Day School was located on Elliott Street. I guess we rode our bicycles pretty much from the get-go. Even at first grade, believe it or not, 7 years old, we got on our bicycles and we rode up that way. I guess when it rained, we got a lucky break, and they pile us in the old station wagons and carry us up that way. I would be very reticent to let my child, if I had a child, ride a bicycle at age 7. My niece is 8, and I can't imagine it. But in the mid 70s, parents looked at Charleston very differently than they do today. We're looking at almost 40 years later, and it's just there's more traffic, there's more awareness of what bad people can do to children. It's unfortunate, but and Charleston today still has children riding their bicycles to school, but it's not as prevalent as it once was. Well, we always played in the street, and we had the most rudimentary of play toys at recess. And we had a dirt playground, and we played foursquare and badminton and touch football, and of course we fought after school and at recess, and you learned how to fight. There were black children who rode their bicycles over to the Hazel Parker playground to play whatever the sport was of the season, football, baseball, and we got to become friends, and they would come to the dances, and those were big events. You had the Thanksgiving dance, and you had the Christmas dance, and the Valentine's Day dance, and you can go down today to the playground on East Bay Street and look at all the old pictures from the dances. But we learned what it was like to go to a dance, to dance with girls, to do the bear hug, and to watch Hazel and Henry Lowndes cut a rug to something, the Candyman, Sammy Davis Jr. That was always Henry and Hazel's song. It was pretty cute. They call it the cotillion. I always called it dance at school, but its formal name is the cotillion. And Mrs. Whaley was running it back in the day, and her descendants continue to run the dancing school, the cotillion, over on East Bay Street, on Meeting Street in the Society Hall, South Carolina Society Hall. And we went to dancing school for about 4 years, and you had to have a partner so to be able to start it, to get into dancing school, so that they would be evenly matched up. When the girls would sit on one side of the room, the guys would sit on the other, and you'd march and get your partner. You had to stick out your arm, and when you left, you had to shake hands and look her and look Mrs. Whaley in the eye, look Mrs. Whipple in the eye, look Mrs. Helms in the eye, or the gentleman, Foxy Foxworth, Mr. Garrity. They maintained the order. But you learn your manners, learn how to introduce your friend to an older person. And you also learned about writing a thank you note, learned about writing a letter of acceptance or regret for a party. And it was a great way to see your friends. We didn't care for it so much when we started off, but once we got into it, I think we realized that it was a fun way to see our friends. And when we got older, it was particularly pleasant to see some of the